Well, hello and welcome to our chapter by chapter devotional through the entire Bible. Today we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 19. This is basically a 5-minute overview of each chapter of the Bible and sharing some principles for life along the way. So the last time we were in Genesis 18, we saw that God had told Abraham about the wickedness of Sodom and how he was going to judge it. We pick up the story at Genesis 19, verse 1, and here's what it says. The two angels sent from the Lord came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot, Abraham's nephew, Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. Just that one sentence is very important because it shows us how sin has progressed and how Lot has become closer and closer to sin in his own life, because Sodom was a place known for its wickedness. Originally, Lot lived near Sodom. Then later in the book of Genesis, he was in Sodom. And now he's sitting in the gate of Sodom, which in ancient times, to sit in the gate meant in a position of leadership in Sodom. Well, Lot meets these two individuals. At this point, he does not appear to know that they're angels, but he knows that they're strangers, they're foreigners, and that they're in danger. So he desperately invites them to lodge with him for their own protection. See, Lot knows the wickedness of Sodom. Well, here's what happens as the angels come to stay with him. It says in Genesis 19, verse 4, before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people to the last man, surrounded the house, and they called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them. That is, that we may have sex with them. So we see just how wicked and how much progress sin has made in the community of Sodom. That's what sin does. If you don't deal with it, it progresses. And they have not dealt with it. They've affirmed it. They've allowed it. They've applauded it in Sodom. And so it's gotten to the point where homosexual, perverse sexual behavior, sexual sin, and violence, because ultimately they try to force their way to take these men and have sex with them. Well, sexual sin and violence are barometers of a community's moral health. We saw that in the story of Noah. There was sexual sin and there was violence, and God sent the flood. Again, here we are at Sodom. What is there? There's perverse sexual sin and there is violence. Those are two indicators of where a community stands in regard to their moral and spiritual health. So that's something to consider in regard to the direction America is going. So Lot refuses, of course, to let these men be attacked. But his whole value system is skewed at this point, so skewed that he offers his daughters to be raped in order to protect these men. Fortunately, that doesn't come to pass. The angels intervene. Lot thought these were men, but these were angelic beings. They intervene. They cause the attackers to go blind. And then they give a warning to Lot of impending judgment. Genesis 19 verse 12 tells us this. Then the men said to Lot, have you had anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone you have in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we are about to destroy this place because of the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out, and he said to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city. But he seemed to his sons-in-laws to be jesting, to be joking. So Lot's whole testimony has been destroyed because of living and partnering with these corrupt people. Even though he didn't do this corruption himself, his testimony is tainted. They don't believe him when it comes to judgment, because if Sodom is under judgment and so wicked, why is he living there? And Lot himself has become really attached to the corrupted culture of Sodom, so much so that he's reluctant to leave even when the threat and the warning of impending judgment. If you look at Genesis chapter 19, verses 15 through 18, it says, as morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he lingered. He lingered. He didn't want to leave. The angels had to force him and his wife. They grabbed hold of him, his wife, and his daughters in God's mercy, and basically pulled them reluctantly out of Sodom, warned them not to look back. And even then, Lot pleaded with them to let them live in another nearby city, which was almost as wicked. So we see that sin has so progressed to the point Lot has become attached to the sinful, corrupt culture around him. And that's something that can happen to you and I also. Ultimately, Lot's wife looked back with longing at the city she has left, and she is turned into a pillar of salt. She is judged. And then later, at the end of this chapter, we see that Lot's daughters have also been corrupted by the culture around them, so much so that they get their father drunk. They have incestuous relationships with him. That produces a whole genealogy that's filled with all kinds of trouble and hardship. And all of this from the beginning of this chapter to the end of this chapter, is basically making one basic point. If you don't deal with sin, it will grow and ultimately destroy you. It is like a cancer. If you don't get rid of the cancer, if you don't cut it out, it will grow. It will never stay the same. We see that in individuals like Lot. We see that in communities like Sodom. We see it in families like Lot's family. Take care of sin. Don't allow it to progress. Have a blessed day.